Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. U.S. President Barack Obama is set to explain his strategy to defeat the Islamic State militant group in the Middle East. In a major televised address on Wednesday night, the violent Sunni Muslim organization, which is seeking to establish an Islamic State, has seized huge chunks of land in Iraq and Syria. White House spokesman Josh Earnest says Mr. Obama will talk about the threat posed by the militants and his plan for degrading and destroying Islamic State.
The president believes that this is a high national security priority. And when you have priorities like this that emerge, the president believes it's important for the American people to understand what progress we have made so far, and the progress that we've made so far is important and substantial. The president also believes it's important to communicate with the American public about a key turning point, and the formation of an inclusive Iraqi government is a key turning point. And the president wants to make sure that he's clear with the American public, with all of you who cover this administration so closely, and with members of Congress about what our strategy is going to be moving forward.
Earnest gave no specifics on what Mr. Obama plans to say, but the president has already ruled out sending U.S. forces back into Iraq. Mr. Obama briefed Democratic and Republican leaders from both houses of Congress on his plan Tuesday. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell told reporters there is broad bipartisan support among lawmakers for dealing with Islamic State militants.
They are obviously a threat to us. They're not going to go away. And we need to have from the President of the United States, the most important leader in the world, a plan for eliminating them.
Some lawmakers insist Mr. Obama get congressional approval before taking any military action against Islamic State, including possible airstrikes in Syria. But the White House says Mr. Obama told congressional leaders that he already has that authority. Islamic State has taken over large parts of northern Iraq and Syria, terrorizing religious minorities and non-Muslims. It also recently beheaded 2 U.S. journalists in Syria and put the grisly scenes on the internet. The United States has already carried out 153 airstrikes on Islamic State targets inside Iraq. The president said they would continue as long as needed to protect U.S. citizens and interests in the region. Well, to learn more about the key elements of the strategy and what experts say is needed for success, here's VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb.
The U.S. military has conducted more than 150 airstrikes in support of forces fighting against Islamic State militants in Iraq. But the scope has been limited. The military says President Obama has not instructed them to target Islamic State leaders, as it has targeted leaders of al-Qaeda and al-Shabaab. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel says they have clear guidelines.
Protect our people and critical infrastructures in Iraq.
But experts say defeating Islamic State militants will take a lot more. Stephen Biddle is with the Council on Foreign Relations.
There's been to date a serious mismatch between very ambitious ends and very limited means. A strategy that would make sense would bring those into alignment.
White House spokesman Josh Earnest says the president is not considering the deployment of ground troops in Iraq or Syria.
This is not a fight that the United States can take on for them.
The U.S. is forging a coalition of partners to counter the Islamic State. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has crisscrossed the globe to discuss the growing threat. But even strong allies like Turkey have shown hesitation to fight. Most of the fighting has fallen to Iraqi forces and the Kurdish Peshmerga. Retired Army Colonel Jeff McCausland told Al Hura Television the U.S. military is poised to support them.
Part of what the United States has done over the last few months with soldiers we have sent to Iraq, numbering now about 1,000, is not only enhance the security at our diplomatic posts in Iraq, but also conduct an assessment along with the Iraqi military about their requirements as well as the requirements of the Peshmerga.
And he says the coalition will also need to support those fighting Islamic State militants in Syria. But Biddle says there is a problem.
A program that's entirely dependent on local U.S. allies to do the heavy military lifting on the ground and doesn't explain how exactly we're going to overcome the political problems and the effectiveness of those allies is leaving too much unstated.
He says the Iraqi military must become less politicized if it is to effectively fight foreign threats. And that is something that depends more on the strength of the new Iraqi government than on U.S. training and strategy. Carla Babb, VOA News, the Pentagon.